We're good? Okay, good evening.
I don't get a mic, I don't have a microphone. Whatever. Oh.
I thought we had enough. Hey, good evening. This is the Midcoast Solid Waste Corporation Annual Board Meeting. We'll begin our agenda by asking, as usual, does any director want to make a comment this evening before we start? Not hearing any, we'll move on to one of our official duties, that's the election and approval of the officers of the corporation, specifically chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer.
I nominate Bob Fasciani as chair of this board of directors of Midco Solid Waste Corporation.
I second that. The third and fourth.
Discussion? Somebody does? Oh, thank you. Anyway, all those in favor? That would be 100%. Thank you very much. And by the way, Beth, 100% would be 100% vote because we have one representative from Lincolnville and one representative from Hope. But unless you say differently, we assume you're taking the vote for the entire vote for the town.
I'll take as many votes as I can get.
Anyway, to the vice chair. To get even, I'd like to nominate Mr. Late here as the vice chair of the Midco Solid Waste Corporation.
Second that.
Thank you.
Third and fourth.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Again, 100%. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Carol. To our, just for a matter of everybody's record here, especially for new players, who are currently our secretary and treasurer?
I feel, Bob, that I stepped into the secretary role
I think you did.
When our friend David passed.
That's what I thought.
So
Okay.
I think,
I just wanted, for the record, and treasurer is Allison, correct? Okay, but now we have to nominate this year's secretary and treasurer. And I suggested not be the vice chair. Any recommendations? Wendy?
Yes, I recommend Deborah.
For what?
Secretary.
Secretary.
Did you say secretary?
I did.
Oh,
You
me.
thought it was treasurer.
Oh,
No, no. I mean, that's my nomination.
Any,
Startle you.
This is off to a rough
I
start.
didn't mean to scare you. It seems like I frightened you.
Second, oh yeah.
all right, motion made in
Screwed
second.
this way a little bit when I do
And
it.
third
but,
and third and fourth.
third and fourth, yes.
Any discussion? Before she runs out the door, all those in favor? Again, unanimous. Thank you very much. 100%. Treasurer.
This is where I wanted to ask a
I
question.
think you need to.
I'm sorry.
Does Allison still want to do that or not?
Sure.
Okay, that was just a question. She just said right before the meeting she was trying to shed some responsibility, so I thought it was just a fair question to ask.
Oh,
her.
I did.
Generally, yeah.
No, I don't want to stand in the way of somebody who's really, really enthusiastic about it, but at this point, I like you go and sign warrants every week, and I get along pretty well with Mike, I think it's going fine. I like doing it.
Okay,
but
well,
if
that's
somebody
fine.
else wants to do
If-
it, that's okay too.
so I'll second that then.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? It's unanimous again. Thank you very much. As far as the newly elected officers' duties, if you want to read the bylaws, sections 5, 6, 7, and 8, it tells you what your duties are. If you have any questions, bring them back. There's not a lot there. There's a brief paragraph you can each read. Next, we have the committee assignments, and we have in our packet here, correct, Beth, the current list, which you've been trying to maintain for us, of committee assignments. I'm trying to get to that. Hold on 1 second. A little slow tonight.
It's page 16.
Yep, I got it.
Board packet.
And we have, of course, the executive committee, which represents myself as chair, and the 4 town managers, administrators, and welcome, Mr. Duke. Good to have you. We have, well, we list that again, but second chair, we'll have to modify, of course, chair. Do we have to? No, we don't. It was all the same ones. Good, that's easy. Then we get to committees. I think for discussion, if there's And we don't have too many vacancies on, well, we have no vacancies or openings on the governance committee, now that Deborah's continued. It's Wendy and Kern and myself. On the strategic capital planning committee, in the past, we've had, well, I'm chair of that one also, Kern and Allison's on it now, Mike Martinez as facility manager. In the past, we did have a town manager on the strategic and capital planning, and by the way, that was Bill Post. We can, but he's too far away
Also the
now.
finance committee.
Yeah, exactly, and we could fill that slot this evening if so desired. John, if you'd like to fill that slot, you're more than welcome. If not, we can, it's not essential, but certainly welcome more players into the strategic and capital planning.
I'd be glad to serve on finance. I think probably
Okay.
missing the last 5 years would be great to have someone else.
Okay,
step
that's
around.
well put. Thank you very much. I think unless, I'm not sure, I think we'll just leave this open for now. I just don't think we need to resolve it right at the moment. The Personnel Committee, we are vacant one person because of loss of our friend. I don't think we ever replaced that, did we?
I think
Or
Josh
no, we did.
replaced him.
Didn't we replace with Josh?
Yeah.
Josh said he went to one of the meetings.
Josh
at least.
wanted to be on, so I think we would have Audra, town manager, Samantha Mank, administrator, and Josh is the only board member?
We should have another board.
I think so.
member.
It's supposed to be somebody from each town, so that leaves,
How about,
a Rockport director. Eric.
That's me. Yeah, that's fine.
okay,
I can do
so
that.
we will add your name as a person on the Personnel Committee, and Josh Garrettson's name, Beth, also on that committee. And on the Finance Committee now, that was the one where I think you mentioned, John, you'd prefer to be involved now. No, and with David Kinney, administrator, Wendy is on it, and Allison, is that correct? Okay.
It works great to have some town manager support there, because
Oh, I think so. I think so, definitely.
Who chairs the Personnel Committee now?
Who chairs it right now?
Yeah.
We don't have one.
Okay.
It's not been designated. I would leave it to the committee to make that decision.
Used to be Dave.
It was Dave Barrow.
No, I know it was
it used to be
Dave.
in the
And
bylaws that had to be the
Who
secretary.
was it?
I think we changed that, right? I was hoping that we had changed that.
I
thought
don't
so.
know.
Yeah, I know we changed it because we said that it made no sense for the secretary to necessarily be, I was hoping that I wasn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah, automatically. That's why my intense interest there.
Okay. Any other committee comments? Yeah, we'll move on to our item 3, which is review and approval of the June 23rd, 2021 meeting minutes. Any comments on those? I have one, but it's minor, but anybody else before I? The only thing, Beth, I want to be consistent on the weighted voting. And just to be clear, as I said earlier, and then it happened in that meeting where some directors weren't there. If a director from, for example, Wendy this evening, representing Hope, unless she specifies otherwise, she's voting the whole share of Hope on their weighted percentage. And that means that if there's 100%, it means it's 100%, not 70 or 80 or whatever the numbers were. Did I get that wrong on the meeting
Well, I
minutes?
think it was 71.43 because that was for the minutes. And not always, sometimes people aren't there, they abstain, so I wasn't sure if it applied to that.
No, all of our votes are weighted and they should be measured the same way.
But I think she's saying how to handle abstentions.
If it's an abstention, then the whole vote should go to the person that remains for the town.
Yeah, unless there isn't.
Unless
In the
there,
case,
unless the abstention is for some, there's no reason why.
We need to calculate that in the percentages anyway, because it's still, if you have abstentions, then it's still 100% of those who are voting anyway.
Right. It should be 100%, and it should be 100% of the weighted vote. Because the abstention doesn't count. Abstention is not a counted vote.
Right.
So if Wendy would, or Brian were to abstain here tonight, Wendy would carry the vote for Hope.
What I found to be slightly confusing, or I'm not sure.
Just one thing?
I mean, no, I'm not sure if I have a better way of doing it. I know we had discussed trying to make sure we actually have the minutes reflect that weighted vote system, but the 600, like, that's a little hard.
It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be there. It should be a percentage vote because all of our votes are weighted. So its percentage should be 100% vote of the 4 towns. Or if there was one town, half of one town, that piece should be negative, and that should be 75% to 25%. No exceptions.
Well, so how would we do it when we want to say, like, one, there were 2, we'll say 25% of the vote abstained?
25%.
Like, how are, most of the time we're used to saying 5-1-0, or.
An abstention is not a vote, so it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't need to be reflected anywhere?
It exist. So if it doesn't exist, that person's not there for that vote technically, and therefore, if that were Brian, Wendy would take the vote for the whole town.
So you want only percentages in here and no actual numbers?
Correct. That our bylaws
That's
say.
the way I know the school district does it, like, for the,
I'm just trying to set a precedent.
sometimes people like to show, it's like that whole school concept of showing your work.
That's fine.
This is the percentage.
That's
How
fine.
did you arrive at that?
The meeting minute's going to say that Brian, and I'm using his example, abstained. That's fine. But Wendy would carry the whole vote for the town,
Brian abstained, but Wendy carried the vote for the town.
for Hope,
Oh, and that's a question.
Because he wasn't there.
because he wasn't there for the vote. It's the same thing as recusing yourself, same thing.
This is why they've not done this in the past, is because it unnecessarily
Some people will say I abstained, I wasn't there for that.
complicates
So
things.
that person, then that person abstained, they're not a vote, they can't vote, like they're not there, and the other person from the town gets 100% of that town,
It's-
whatever the allocation is. That's what a weighted vote
It's
is.
just gets a little bit like,
We
kind of
just got to be consistent. We're not. We're doing 6-0. We're doing.
sci-fi, kind of
It
like.
said, the meeting minutes say
I've
70.
also been asked to name the people.
Sorry?
Who, I've also been to say who was not, who was the negative vote, or, by name, so.
You can do that too. That's not a problem with identifying somebody that abstained. It doesn't affect the vote
Okay.
as far as percentage goes. I know it's confusing. I don't like it, but that's what the bylaws say.
I think the statute requires you to name the people.
I agree. I agree. Anyway,
I have to look, but that's my
We need a
recollection.
motion.
yeah, we need a motion with that one change.
Move to approve the meeting minutes of June 23rd, 2021 with the changes discussed.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Wendy. Discussion?
Where was the specific change that needed to be made?
Just look at one of the votes. One of the votes is 71.43%. It was a 6-0 vote.
Okay. But then, the part I was asking about, you want to remove all references to numbers like where it says 600?
Yep.
Should all go away?
Yep. I mean, if you want, you can do it by town. You can do it that way if you want to, but I think it's a lot of work. We have a weighted percentage vote, and we need to be consistent. And the only vote that should be shown on meeting minutes are that. And if a person abstains by name, that's fine, Beth. You use your own judgment with that. That's up to you. But if again, using my poor friend Brian, because he's not here, you abstained, you can say Brian abstained from Hope, and Wendy carried the vote for Hope. That's fine.
How are we going to
Yeah,
do
but-
it when you and I vote in opposite ways? It'll be like Camden, 0%.
Yeah.
No. If we vote in opposite ways, 50% of the Camden vote gets yay, and 50% of the Camden vote gets nay.
But then we cancel each other out, and then it becomes,
Sorry.
how are you going to do the yes 100%? What
Sorry,
are
that's
you
the
gonna-
way it goes.
I'm asking a question, it's not.
I know,
you
but
can't say-
that's the way it's always been. If you and I vote off the sides, that's what happens.
Okay. As the governance committee
Hold on a
chair,
second.
who works on the bylaws, I would like to point something out. The bylaws say, and I don't have the interlocal agreement in front of me, but I think that it says the same thing as the interlocal agreement in this case.
Yep.
That each director shall be entitled to the number of votes, which shall be determined as follows. So it is they are entitled to the entire weighted vote.
Yep.
And it does say the word vote or voting elsewhere in these bylaws, except as specifically noted, shall refer to the weighted vote allocated. on cumulative voting, which is what this is called under the statute, which, there is a statute that says there's no cumulative voting.
Right.
And that is something we have to struggle with.
That's true.
Because I don't even know if our bylaws and our interlocal agreement are actually valid under state law.
I would suggest they're not.
Yeah, and so this whole thing could be academic.
Well, you know what?
But let me say, under cumulative voting, it says, in the event only one director from a participating municipality is present at a meeting, that director may cast all votes allocated to the community,
Right.
to the municipality. It doesn't say shall, it says may.
But
So-
to my point, I said and again, for Brian and Wendy getting picked on all night here, but if Wendy were to say, I'm only comfortable voting for half of Hope, because I know Brian doesn't want to support this, you can do that.
Which I would do if I needed to.
Absolutely, but if she doesn't, she's voting 100% of Hope.
Right, okay, that's good, because in the past, there have been times, like when Owen and I were on the board, where Owen and I did not give the other person, one of us couldn't make it, but we disagreed on a particular subject, and we did not give the weighted vote to the other.
Same here. If I
to the
knew
other
Allison was
person.
opposed to my way of thinking, I would not vote Allison.
So we should not,
You'd have the
okay,
right
it
to if I
sounded
were here,
like
wouldn't be
you
my
were,
choice, but-
Well,
it's not 100% for
Well,
that
no,
town.
what would happen is you don't have, you would not have 100%, but you have to so specify that I stated that I could not vote in good conscience for Allison's shares. That should be in the minutes. That's all. That's it.
But it would be your choice, not mine.
Well, I mean, you might tell me beforehand, whatever you do, don't vote for that, but you may not. But I know what you usually are thinking, and if I don't feel comfortable voting Allison's shares for
Right,
this.
but it would I was just saying, it would be your decision whether to listen to my
That's true. That's
feelings
true.
or not.
That's true. If you're not here, you're not here.
but is your point really that a 4-2 vote is not really a 4-2 vote,
Correct.
depending on the amount of weight
That's
a
correct.
particular town
That's
has?
correct.
And that's really the point you're getting at?
That's correct.
Not the cumulative voting so much, which is what we're kind of getting hung up on, but
Well,
it's
remember,
the
Deborah,
weight.
we have 4 towns.
And the ways
And by revised bylaws, we have to have 1 representative from each town in this meeting. That means there could be 4 people only, we still have a meeting.
I know, but so I guess what I was only talking about is you're trying to deal with the fact by wiping out all references to actual individual votes and only having percentages. I just tend to think more information rather than less.
That's fine.
Is better so that we don't have to go later on. Had they come up with 75% there, it would just be better because it says may take both votes. Really, what that means is that it has to be stated that.
I agree with you.
So I don't know why
No,
we need
I
to.
agree with you. I'm just saying the percentage vote should be whatever the percentage is, and whatever explanation, including individual votes, Beth wants to put in is fine. And if Bob stated that he didn't want to vote for Allison, and that's why the vote came out the way it is, that's fine. Most of our votes are 100%, 90% of the time. So this is not going to be an issue, except for when we have time. We have two directors missing, and we have 2 individuals, Kern and Wendy, who are representing their towns, 100%, unless they say differently. That's all.
So do you want her to change, you want her to get rid of the 600? Or I guess my feeling would be that that should be turned into 8, for most of them, it should be turned into 800.
You could do that too. I think you're getting a little complex. It might be better just to say that following individuals for towns voted, and just by name.
Or just everybody present was in favor.
Yep,
I
I'm
don't
flexible.
know.
I just want the
I feel
rule.
bad for Beth. I feel like we're
I do
getting
too.
her not very clear.
If you need help, let me know.
Like, it's not clear to me how this would.
All right, onward. We got other things to cover. One thing is which I get a kick out of, is our bylaws recommend we appoint, we already appointed the treasurer, and we need to appoint a designee who's authorized to sign warrants.
Really, it's always been the same person.
All right,
We've got to vote
good
on
point.
minutes.
all those in favor?
The question is, I wasn't a member at the last meeting, I was here, and Deborah wasn't here.
We need to abstain, so he's getting to that.
No,
Well, we'll abstain.
Nobody from Rockport can vote.
no.
Right.
Are you going to write that?
If that's good.
Goose egg for Rockport, okay.
I wasn't a member, though I was at the meeting.
If the other 3 towns vote unanimously, the percentage will be fine. You can't vote.
He
Neither one
can vote because he witnessed it. Like, he could
Witnessed
feel,
what?
he watched, he was at the meeting, he watched it.
not-
I think in good conscience.
He wasn't a
He's
member.
not a director.
I agree that that's what happened.
Not a director. He will not vote.
I mean, that could really throw something if we get
Yeah,
this
you-
29.4%.
What?
30, almost 30.
We can't represent Rockport, so in that case, we'll have to state in the meeting minutes that Rockport was not represented, and the vote is the, whatever the 100 minus Rockport is.
Sorry to mess it up right
No,
away,
that's okay. That point, good point of order. Again, we need to designate a second a designee to sign warrants in addition to the treasurer.
It would normally be you.
Oh, yeah?
In the past, it's been
Right?
the chair.
It's been you. I got a warrant right here if you want to see your name on it.
No, but we normally do it like, one person does it and you're just a backup.
Whatever, we just have to name a designee.
So it reverts to the chair.
Right, the bylaws could be read, you can read them in two
you-
ways,
you
like the
think?
treasurer and designee, you could,
Yep.
The treasurer and an authorized designee shall be appointed or
Yeah.
affirmed with the authority to sign warrants for the issuance of checks, notes, drafts, or orders.
I'm just repeating the bylaws. I mean, we don't cap.
even over the, it's always been, we've never gone through that, it's always been the chair.
All right. Do we
But
need?
who, I mean, maybe somebody else.
Fine, me, I'm
Authorized
not
designee.
complaining. If you need me to sign something, I'm always around to sign something.
Yeah, I think you have to stay on the warrant, is what she's saying.
Yeah, it's fine. Do we need a motion?
And we
for
just
that?
don't have to change any of the printing and stuff.
It's fine with me. All right.
Okay, so does that need to be, let's vote on the
Yeah, I think we should.
minutes first.
The bylaws say we have to appoint a designee. Make the designee the chair.
Doesn't want it.
Motion, please.
We have a motion that needs to be voted on.
Okay, all those in favor?
The minutes.
The minutes,
Oh, minutes, all those in favor?
go back, yes.
Just need to get it done.
All those in favor, okay, and we know that Rockport can't vote because they don't want to show up. Okay, cool. Have a sense of humor. Okay, now to the designee. We should have a motion to designate myself as.
I move that Bob is the authorized designee.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Now it's really 100%. Thank you very much. Cool. I think that's all of the, just for a point of reference to those who may, anybody's listening or not, but there is in the packet at the very end, the revised apportionment of the assessments to the 4 towns. And if you have any questions on this calculation, don't ask me, but they're specified there, and I'm sure we have them.
Normally the time that we would also review the, what the weighted vote percentages,
Yeah, that's in the
Are.
packet.
It's on our.
That's what I just said.
we're not going to, but we don't like, it used to, we've had a debate before about whether we need to officially kind of certify that we agree, so that later on,
Yeah, and we decided the last time that we don't, because the
Right.
weighted vote is the weighted vote.
Right.
It's set forth in there, that it had been a practice of the board to approve it, but what if somebody were to disapprove it? It's set forth in the
Kinda
interlocal
like approving
agreement,
the school
and
warrant.
it's set forth in the bylaws, and so there's no
right there.
yes or no on it. It's set forth.
because the point was for us all to certify that we like looked at it and we agree, so that we don't end up, but, okay.
Is what if you disagree? We already, we changed that. Well, we changed it. We broke that. We had a big debate about it.
Right.
Last year, we changed it, and so I thought we kind of
Now,
changed it going
a
forward.
director
Oh,
could,
okay, that's fine.
a director could challenge the calculation of that assessment portion, and they could take it from that tack if you wanted to, and,
I just think that in light of what has happened with the schools, we should probably all get in the habit of, looking at that stuff, because, with Camden and Rockport and millions of dollars and nobody ever really looked at it, it should be like, yeah, we're all going to kind of make sure that we agree with how it's been calculated and we understand it, and
Michael-
maybe not for this
I
meeting,
was
but
going to
it,
say, on that note.
we've
if you
obviously
fund the
done
assessment
this poorly in the
calculation
past.
Out of the fiscal '22 budget that we've reviewed in the finance committee.
Which would have been the time
And
to-
approved as a board. So.
Which is the
those are
same as the,
exact same numbers that were approved for this.
and I think that's actually what we decided before,
That's what we
is that
said,
really it was the budget time
Budget,
that would have
part
been
of
the time
budget,
to,
Right.
So it's all part of the budget calculation.
right.
yeah, okay, clear?
Right, yeah.
Okay. But I just want to mention it is in the packet, and it wasn't mentioned on the agenda, so it's there. To our facility manager report, does anybody have any questions for Mike on the facility manager report? Not hearing any. Mike, do you want to highlight? Oh, did you have a question, Allison?
I was thinking you were just going to skip it, so I was about to be like, it would be really nice if for anybody listening, we could just let him do it, but it seems like you were going to, like, it would be nice to just say it verbally.
In the last year, we allowed Mike, if there's any item in there you think you want to underscore for the board.
Not a lot. Just a couple of things.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I would have a question, but I would wait for your report concerning the bags. So I'll let you bring it up as you
Yellow
go.
bags,
but-
yes. So,
Good question.
that is a really good question. So we have run out of large bags, okay? This is an example of the global nationwide supply chain problem in this country. It also has to do with the employment problem in this country. Our manufacturer, Waste Zero, one of the largest in the companies, ran out of plastic. They couldn't get plastic. And they also didn't have employees to run their facility at full capacity. So they fell behind, and then we suffer. On Friday, we had 173 cases of large bags shipped from Chicago. They should be here this week.
Really?
I'm hoping they're here this week, so they're coming.
Wow.
Our order is 500 cases. So we've got a lot more to come. Yesterday, the manufacturer had a production meeting. She's supposed to follow up with me. She did not today. I will follow up with her tomorrow to see where the rest of our cases are. But they're coming.
Excellent, because I thought it might be ongoing for a while, and what do we do in the meantime?
No, they're
But
on the way.
there's no need
But
to
what we do
discuss
in the meantime, residents can purchase 30-gallon bags. That's what our large bags are. And then if they go to the gate and say, I have 2 bags, they pay $2.50 per bag, as if it was a yellow bag. Or they can buy small bags.
Or you can just have a contractor bag and pay $5, which works well for lots of people.
Exactly. Or they can do that.
For some people, it's actually better. Like they're happy when you just tell them, you actually don't need to use the yellow bag. You just want to take all your kitchen bags and put them in a contractor bag and pay $5. Or you can pay.
Which we see. I mean,
Right.
we see people use little, Glad bags, and then they stuff them all into the big yellow bag and throw them in.
Or pellet bags.
Sorry.
Right.
Pellet bag.
They're very strong, and so they work well.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
my
chicken
husband,
feed bags. I use the same myself.
he can
Yeah.
squash them in there really well.
Save up and go over the scale.
Hey, Mike,
The other option that not many residents know, they can go over the scale and pay a weighted rate.
right.
But most people, I mean,
No,
We don't want everybody
a
doing
couple of
that.
bags, it really doesn't, usually not worth it. So,
Anything, Mike, you want to highlight in your report that the board should be double apprised of?
July has been quiet on projects, but busy on volume. Lots of people coming through. We are a lean crew right now. As you guys know, we had 5 retire, but we're making it work. We're doing well. I've got applications out. We're hiring. Lots of people have taken applications. I haven't received many back. So we're still trying to hire. But and speaking of hiring, on my waste diversion program, not to switch topics too quickly on you here, we did hire a kid this week. Yesterday, actually, was his first day. He's a student in Brunswick, Harpswell Engineering School, Region 10 out there in Brunswick. He came in, he's already got 4 bikes and 2 lawnmowers ready to go. So that program is really going to kick off. So that's a highlight to show off here.
Definitely a highlight. He's small engine repair?
Small engine repair, and he's a good kid. We hired him as full-time employee. So he's also helping out on the line. He's learning some of the compactor stuff. He's going back to school in September, but he's still going to work for us on Saturdays.
Really?
He's going to help out. So
good.
he's a strong, motivated, ambitious
Great.
young kid.
That's great.
Which is what we have now. I know a lot of you guys knew the old crew, Gary and Bob and all those guys. We have a much younger crew. They are ambitious. They're excited. They're also in their 20s, so, you got to keep them focused a little bit here, but they are doing very well.
It was,
So-
I brought a group of students over there. It was unfortunately happened when Mike was on vacation, but he let me do this elementary school tour. And these kids were, and we brought them into the Repair Cafe and the regeneration spot where they're fixing things. And Kevin brought them into where all the baled recyclables are, and they saw the bikes that are being fixed. And there were so many gasps from like, oh, this was in the trash, and can I have that bike? And the teachers were saying, can you, we didn't know this, we didn't know this. And there were so many categories of things. We really have more categories of recycling than just about anywhere else. So it's, the atmosphere there is really nice. Everybody was excited to talk to the kids. It was like, something I think we can be really proud of over there and encourage more school groups.
I really think moving forward in the years to come, the recycling is what's going to be the highlight of this facility. I think it's what we're going to focus on and push, and we could be the hub of Mid-Coast Maine that really focuses on it. And we have programs, and we have artists that come by that use our number 2 naturals to make things. And we can really showcase this if this is a direction that the board wants to take. And we want to get into this sort of.
While
Great, Mike.
you're on that topic of recycling, we need to figure out ways to get some of these other businesses that don't recycle into the recycling program. I know a lot of the restaurants just, everything goes in the trash. Doesn't make a difference because they have a dumpster and everything goes in the trash and they don't care. I mean, are there ways that we can get these businesses that are just everything in the trash into the recycling program so that we're not filling up the landfill, which is a finite
Public education.
position?
Down to education. On our end,
He's got some good
to
ideas.
inform them, when it comes down to the actual having them do it, well, that comes down to their business model, and they got to pay guys to, or buy the containers, or do whatever to do it. So on their end, I don't know how to address that, but on our end, we can certainly teach them what needs to be done.
Other locations in the country give you recycle bins to use, and I realize we're a totally different model. We don't do that here, but is there a way to get these companies that pick up the trash like Wayne and stuff to supply a recycling bin that isn't a cost to somebody to encourage this recycling? Because I've worked in businesses where it's like I pick recycling out and take it home because it just aggravates me, because I'm like, that's landfill. That's a waste of space when all that is recyclable.
I thought Wayne Heels does provide containers.
Well,
That's my neighbor.
Well, I think he does, but I'm just saying, is there a way to encourage more businesses to get that where they're not, because somebody's got to pay for the recycle bin to sit there and he's got to pay to pick it up. And how do we, I don't know, I just feel like we're losing a position
It
here.
also doesn't. If you don't want to pay for it, it all goes in. Wayne Heald is probably the most problematic with cardboard of plugging up our compactors.
Yeah, I know.
There's so much cardboard, there's so much glass, plastic. They just
We should
don't.
ban corrugated cardboard from the compactor.
It all just, how do you do it?
Let's
But the other thing would be, we've talked about, like, a lot of places have gone single stream, but there's, and a lot of people ask us about that, but Mike and I were talking the other day, maybe there's a way that we could figure out what the price point would be so that if people want to pay for that service, maybe we could have the employees that would, it'd be like, okay.
That was one of the last, good point, Alice. That was one of the last things we discussed before we got kind of strategic capital committee was discussing that exact thing. And then we just stopped meeting.
But not that exact thing.
It's definitely a strategic and
there's no
capital
question about it, but
committee
I
thing,
agree.
but if we wanted to, what do single stream facilities do? They take it and they send it to EcoMaine.
Yeah.
Or they send it to Fiber.
Yeah.
Why can't we be EcoMaine? Why can't we be Fiber? If we had the employees, if we had the space.
Well, we don't have a boiler.
No, not that part, but what they do is separate
What EcoMaine
it.
does is they send it there, they separate it.
Yep.
And then they go through the
Yep.
MRRA,
Yep,
Victor,
yep, yep.
the same people we use, and they reap the benefit of.
Yeah. This is.
This is good information to get out there and dig into with a remodel, with the strategic and capital planning.
There's no question
committee.
about it. We have to get one of those.
We need to get there.
We've
And
lost a
now that
year.
we have, for lack of a better way to say it, competent management moving along.
Yeah.
You asked for goals.
Well,
Okay?
so I believe the bylaws say something that the strategic and capital planning has to meet in September or have a planning September or something. So I'm going to call a meeting with you guys next month, and this will be a topic.
Great.
So we'll deal with it
Okay.
in that committee meeting, because I've got some ideas.
I agree with you. We need to pick it up. We lost a lot because of the virus. But yeah, back to our agenda.
Yeah, we never, can I just say one thing?
Yeah,
I
sure.
know that we're trying to keep things efficient here and whatever, but historically, this board, just, the reason I got involved in municipal government to begin with is because I started showing up, and this is the issue that I cared about and a lot of people cared about, and I started showing up to Midco Solid Waste Board meetings, and nobody ever talked about recycling or waste reduction or any of it. It just didn't ever come up as a topic of conversation. And it left the impression that nobody really cared about that. And so I do think it's important that sometimes the board spends a little time just
I think,
talking, and it's not all in the name of, efficiency.
and
But
why have the committee?
what?
Why have the strategic committee?
The Strategic and Capital Planning Committee hasn't been like a recycling committee. I'm just saying it was nice for a second to be brainstorming about like
Yeah.
how to do better.
I agree.
And
I
that
agree.
sometimes we can afford to go off track just like a
That's fine.
tiny bit.
Yeah, cool.
So-
Okay. Let's talk to the FY21 results. Everybody's probably seen them. They look damn good. Looks like a combination of expenses are about $130,000 under. And the revenue is about $140,000 over, netting in excess, obviously, of $250,000 of net positive to the bottom line in FY21. If you, Mike, you want to comment to, we can see where those came from. It's pretty clear in this report, but open up to any questions you want to ask of Mike or any results, questions you have for FY21.
Does that doesn't include the carry forwards though?
No.
So we should be very cautious about.
I agree. We shouldn't run up.
We have $250,000.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's an excellent point, because I have no idea how much that is.
I mean, it's still good.
Yeah.
But
It may not be 200 and something thousand to the good.
we did a lot better in recycling than we thought we were going to. It shows we did a pretty good job budgeting. The landfill was interesting to see. That was like right on what we thought, which.
Right. Well, I mean, Mike, in your opinion, is this reflective of some of the contract changes we've had over the last year?
Absolutely.
Like that?
Switch to Haskell trucking was a big one.
Hauling?
And how's that going?
Excellent. Excellent. Pete is our main driver. He works for Jesse Haskell. He's very responsive. Joe's there on the phone. Call him up, comes in. I will say there is some difficulty with going to Norwich Walk now with their hours. Eco Maine was open for a bigger slot. Norwich Walk is 7 to 3. So getting trucks 7 to 3. So getting 2 loads a day, Pete's got to hustle, but he can do it. They're not open on Saturdays, where Eco Maine was. So there's some little bit of logistic there. We haven't run into too many problems. Gets a little tight on the weekends and stuff, but normally we're okay.
Is that because of the summer load?
Summer load, yeah, absolutely. We're filling up more. I mean, we're definitely seeing higher volumes. We're getting great tonnages. 18 is what we're shooting for. We're seeing 19s, 20s, 21 tons of load.
Right.
So we're seeing, we're making good loads.
That's good.
So,
Allison, to your question, how do we get the carry forwards? We have to talk to Jody for that?
Well, the carry forwards are would be like what Mike proposes to carry forward. And then the finance committee has reviewed that a little bit. It's not on, you're not asking us to vote tonight on this.
No.
Right.
But
I didn't see it on the.
But can we get some kind of report issued in the next weeks or time period so that the board can see?
Is that something the board needs to vote on to approve? Because I can.
Yes.
But, yeah,
That out. Okay.
and we probably should have put that on the,
Yep. Yep.
but
But
I can actually,
they, are they completed, Allison, as far as what carry forwards Mike's recommending?
yes.
Yeah. Finance committee's reviewed,
Okay.
Dave and Allison. Wendy, have you had a chance to see it? I didn't see a response in an email.
To see what? I'm sorry.
Carry forwards that I've proposed.
No, I'm sorry, I just got the packet, I checked out the packet.
Yeah.
But I didn't get
Finance
the,
committee email.
I didn't get that.
All right, well, if we don't have them, we're going to have to get them to the board so they can review them, and then we'll decide how we get it implemented.
Okay.
Can always hold a
I can
special
give
meeting.
An overview.
I mean, I
right
could
now.
put them up on the projector and,
Oh,
well,
but I'm not going to vote on anything that's not in the packet.
okay.
I don't think we should. We can have a special meeting. We can do that. That's very easy to do. It's not a big deal, but we should do it quickly. But Allison, if you could summarize them so the board would start thinking about what's the order of magnitude and where the big ones are, that's not a bad idea.
Yep, just pulling that up here. Maybe, Mike, do you want to?
Yeah, I've got it right here. So
Go ahead, Mike.
it's supplemental funding for the roll-off containers. So when, as I was saying earlier, I budgeted items for roll-off containers in November at $30,000. In April, they were 46, and in June, they were $51,000. So we need 21,000 extra dollars. We have two line items. One's a capital expenditure line item, and one's for recycling. That covers that cost. So we're pulling forward $21,032
On those two accounts.
on those two. The second one was, it has to do with the credit card transactions and the software upgrades. There was a little over $6,000 left in our software licensing and PC line. I want to carry that forward because as we looked into, what it's going to take to upgrade the facility software-wise so that we can do credit cards safely and not be, susceptible, vulnerable to ransomware and all this other stuff. So I want to bring that 6,000 forward into the next, because we had budgeted 17. The quote that I got was 13 and a half.
Oh,
So it's close if something else comes up or we got to do something. So just pull that forward. The last one was the automation of the leachate pumping system.
ooh.
Okay, now this was not budgeted, but it's been something that the DEP has wanted us to do for a long time.
Should've done a long time
So,
ago.
John, you may not know, we control the water level within the.
Oh, he's been,
Okay, you're good on that.
Don't worry.
Okay, so,
I'll get flashbacks here, but I'll be all right.
so
All good.
we've been doing it annually since
Yeah.
I started, right? And everything's going good, but the DEP would still like to see it automated. I would like to see it a little more than just automated and tie in that data remotely wireless to a server in the office, and also tie in the data from the discharge flow meter. So we have our pumping data, and we also have remote control of that pumping system. So if I'm in Florida and I look and say, oh, geez, we can slow the pump down, that'll all be done. That is,
plus a rain gauge and a weather station and,
rain gauge
that's-
we can stick on that. I'll buy you a rain gauge.
Pretty cheap
But
stuff.
that's $15,000, and I'd like to pull that forward, because that wasn't budgeted. In 22.
Okay.
So it's 15, it was, I think, 13.5, but the price, I guarantee the price has gone up since that. So $15,000, we carry that forward, fully automated system.
Hold on, what do you mean by that wasn't budgeted, but you want to carry it forward?
We did not budget an automation system in FY '22. However,
Right,
but we have
Right.
funding available in '21 that we can bring forward
carry it forward.
The red line?
And-
from line 125 operational cost to fund the project.
So in total, Mike, your three items, if I heard it, is about,
42,
I would say
$259.
$40,000. It's not really huge. It's small. Okay, but get those summarized into the board, and then we can decide. We're going to have to get them approved.
You want me to forward you the email?
You can get forward to all of us, that's
Right.
fine with me.
Yep.
But everybody should see it and be able to cogitate on it, and we may have to call a special quick meeting.
The only thing I would, is operational, I'm thinking
Yeah.
just a tiny bit more, operational costs, is that operational cost for the landfill or for the,
Line 125, operational cost MSW, so no, it's not landfill.
so I think it's important that we try to allocate landfill-associated costs to the landfill. So, because we want our fees to reflect that and everything. So I guess I would think for that portion of it, it would make more sense to fund it.
Then we don't
Really,
have-
we should be attempting to fund it from the, like, Jacobs Quarry Reserve Fund,
So
or from
that's what I was
the,
going to say. We would have to go to a reserve fund because operational cost CDD, which is the landfill stuff, we were negative 16,000. We don't have it in that line item to pull from. So we could go to reserve.
or we can, I mean, this is all, anything that's not carried forward is going to go into the unassigned fund balance. So we can also vote to use the unassigned fund balance to pay for some of these things, or to use the unassigned fund balance to, replenish one of the reserve funds. But we should just do it in a way that reflects, where it's coming from.
Good idea.
And I should have thought of that earlier and said it and put
Let's
it on the
just
agenda.
clarify that and might get it to Mike so we, before this email goes out to us, so it's very clear.
Yeah. And
Give
then,
time, give time. Cool. Good
The
job.
one that may be time sensitive is the roll-off containers.
Right.
Because they're waiting on us for that approval. So they've got the containers, they're waiting on us where they can ship it. So that one, that 21,000 to carry forward to get those moving is a little time sensitive. The other ones are not so much time sensitive.
nothing stops you from overspending a line.
Exactly.
Well, we
But-
could do that as well.
Well, or Barton taking from a reserve.
Right.
No, he can't do that without
Yeah, I
board
suppose you
approval.
could.
Isn't there a general reserve that we can cap?
That takes board approval.
Not equipment reserve?
No reserve fund can be used without board approval.
All right. All right. Well, let's get it summarized quickly and we can always work that out.
Got it.
Unless it's already been, unless the budget reflected that we were going to pay
Okay.
for something with the.
That's fine. All right, that's an action item we have to follow up on.
Would it be, if we were to draft something up, would that be something maybe we could do a quick Zoom meeting just to
So, I'm sorry?
approve? Would that be something that maybe it would be easier to do a Zoom meeting to
Yeah, absolutely.
approve, so we don't all have
Yeah,
to?
yeah, As long as the director's approved, that's fine. We can.
Okay, I'll draft something up, and
We're not elected officials, so we can operate a little differently than select boards.
you are elected officials.
No, not here. You're appointed by the board to be a director of this organization.
Oh, we're subject to all of the same laws,
Corporation.
open meeting laws and all of that stuff.
I do not
But we're,
consider myself an elected official sitting here. Not in this capacity.
It's true. It's true. We are subject, because we're we're quasi municipal entity in the sense that we're subject to all the investment. We're quasi municipal entity. We're subject to all the, the investment limitations the municipality is and open meetings and all that. But you're an
You're agreeing with me then?
appointed person here as opposed to an elected
Yep.
official here.
Two
I
hats.
understand that part, but we still have to abide by the same laws in terms of open meeting stuff.
Open meetings, yeah, that's another one that I
Open meetings, but
named.
the
Not
statute,
sure.
the statute for elected officials requires meeting in person right now with certain stipulations, but we're not privy, we don't have to follow state statute for the town of Camden in terms of
Yeah,
meetings.
there's an interesting conundrum there because we see it also in the Mid-Coast Internet Development Corporation,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
we're going to seek some,
Yeah.
we're going to seek some clarification on, and the same thing would apply to this entity.
Okay.
And that is for the corporation under the law under which we're formed, it allows unanimous written consents.
Right.
Okay, and so in Mid-Coast Internet Development Corporation, we have in our bylaws that we can have unanimous written consents. We never
Which makes sense.
put that into the bylaws here.
Right.
And there is that sort of rub between quasi-municipal, but
Yep.
then also the corporate law, which actually allows it. So a legal inquiry on that, an official legal inquiry on that would be
Okay.
valuable, and so,
Okay.
it could benefit both. So when we receive a response,
Let's
then
see.
I will let you guys know
Let us know what it
too.
is. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Moving on to, well, that's the end of our published agenda. I'm sorry, Deborah.
I'm sorry for taking this out of order. Just a point of clarification. I was sitting here looking at the bylaws while
Yep.
we were talking about, after we moved off of the committees. And I know Eric is on the Personnel Committee as a director. Was there another town and director on the Personnel Committee? Because there needs to be to, oh, Josh, okay, that's what I missed, I'm sorry.
We had already appointed him.
Perfect, okay.
Some, couple months ago.
Yeah, we need two, so I missed that.
No, we did. Thanks for keeping us honest. With that, I'd like a motion to leave the director meeting and enter an executive session.
Just one
Oh, sorry.
question. Do we have to approve these final
The financials,
financials?
aren't they going to be audited?
We don't have to approve that.
Okay, I was just, for my own
No.
information, I didn't know if we had to.
No, they have to be audited first before I would approve anything.
Gotcha.
But then, that's cool. I'm sorry, Kern, you made a motion, or we're beginning to make a motion.
Sure.
She moved. She moved. So he'd have to second, I guess.
Okay, motion made and seconded, any discussion? All's in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, Beth.
Why are we going into executive session again? Did we say
Well,
that?
we really should say that pursuant to Personnel Matters 1 MRSA, Section
I'm
4056A,
sorry,
but I think I
Mike,
heard
yeah.
Allison say that.
My bad. Allison, would
I
you
think
please
Bob
say
said it,
it?
and then I said.
I
so.
should have said it up
I
front.
was mumbling, though.
I didn't say it. Allison, why don't you say it?
Mr.
It would be a motion, to clarify your motion to, it's regarding.
Clarify my motion to reflect what Deborah said.
All right. Yeah, so at,
Oh, God.
well, 7:25, we'll take a
Second
minute's
that.
break for poor Beth to catch up. And we'll, say again?
No, Kern ended up seconding.
It's okay, Beth, it's okay. We're going helter-skelter.
To shut
Thank
these off.
Thank you, Drew. Yes, we do.
Thank you, sorry, I was, give me a second.